Hey guys, this is the part I'm, still new to and a little bit, always nervous and apprehensive about. I'm not showing anything. I'm just talking. It, I used to play guitar in the band. I had no problem because I knew what I was doing. Whenever I got out there, I had full confidence. But whenever you're getting in front of people that know more about the equipment that you're using, you feel a little bit like, now, I mean, somebody's going to say something. You know that's coming, but that's kind of why I do this. When I was a kid, I mean, this was a body shop. We were always up. Ronnie's asked for this. Can you paint this? Can you paint our bicycle? Can you do? There's no kids no more getting into this. I mean, they drive their cars, they blow up, and then they want somebody to fix them. I got out working on cars for a while. I got into contracting, and my wife passed away, and I had a couple of years till I got back into it, and I had a back operation, rod in my back. I still beat in ball joints for people I know, for friends, stuff like that. But I don't do physical stuff like that as much as I like doing the electronics and the diagnostics. But when I was a dealership mechanic, the only thing we used an oscilloscope for was getting secondary ignition. It was on a big Sun machine that you swung out over your bay. It had an emission sniffer on it. Great for head gaskets. Very good. I mean, I even seen Scanner Danner. He's exact same machine. He said it's still great for secondary ignition. I believe it, but back then we didn't understand none of that. You put it around a wire. If you seen anything other than what you didn't, what you saw in another cylinder, plugs, wires, cap rotor, whatever. Uh, but after being out of it for that long, I mean, I was a mechanic during the 80s and like the early 90s when what was all vacuum hoses then is electronics. Now the vacuum hoses suck. The electronics are fun. I actually wish I was in my prime starting to work on these with the kind of tools we got today. I mean, it's pre OBD1 was a different thing. I mean, you could listen to an engine, you could tell like that Kia with a rod knock. I mean, I knew that was a rod knock coming down the alley. That's old school. That's what your ears used to get you. That's what experience got you. These new cars I've seen, O2 sensors act like bad map sensors. Bad map sensors act like bad map sensors. A computer was, a car that's running off the downstream O2 for some reason, and but you can't just say, I know what's wrong with this car. If you hear a noise, maybe you got a good idea, like rocker arms on Jeeps or something like that. You hear that noise, you know what it is. But with the electronics, we don't want to guess. Some of these sensors are expensive. It's a lot of money. And I work on ministry vehicles. I work on my friends' vehicles. That's all I do. And this is interesting to me. It's like a puzzle. You got to solve this problem. Things that we wish we could have did back then. Information we could have got back in. I mean, they were some ways easier, some ways harder, but you know, they're a lot better today. Fuel injection, no doubt. I mean, it, but that brought with it the computer and being able to talk to the computer. That's and the O2 sensors. That's what makes this fun because most of your work's out of the driver's seat. The hardest thing you have to do is like possibly back probe a sensor that's in a weird location, replace the actual sensor. I mean, if it's in a weird location, I mean that's it. You know, if you spend your life doing that from a young age, your body's not going to wear out. Like I'm sure a lot of you older mechanics, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you're shot early. Yeah, it's hard on you. But what I was getting to is I didn't think anybody would watch any videos. I was just making them because you feel like teaching a kid. You feel like you should be teaching somebody. I mean, it took me a long time to learn some of this stuff, and I'm still learning a lot of stuff every day. And you always have, if you work on different brands, I mean, and I can't tell you one car acts like a different brand car when something goes wrong. It's like I can't tell you if the Dodge honks at you when the keys aren't in the ignition, or like your windshield wipers come on for odd reasons driving down the highway, your tip-em's bad. That's because I was a Dodge mechanic, and that's when we called them tip-ems. So but going from a Honda to a Toyota to a Chevy to a Ford, I mean, we need oscilloscopes. You know, wire diagrams don't do this. A car that's going to get you, a tool that's going to get you fuel pressure off a Ford, it's not going to get you fuel pressure off of a Kia. You have to be adaptive. And I noticed I got a Chinese a pressure transducer, the Pico clone. The hoses aren't good. It got a cheap aluminum pipe. I mean, I didn't know all that at the beginning, but I'm still kind of glad I went that route because I like that 3-position sensor. It's like they're giving you a good piece of electronic equipment, easier to set up, but you know, it has a battery, you could charge everything. That's great, but the hoses suck. So if you've got good compression gauges, you need the adapters to go from these cheap connectings. I mean, I'm just learning all this stuff. I figured it's, you know, my fuel pressure gauge is the same as, you know, the compression gauge. Everything should be universal. It's not. You got to make it universal. There's one channel out there, like Kentucky Home Garage. This guy, I'm telling you, take a look at his fuel pressure gauge. I mean, for returnless systems, he'll actually put from his gauge, he has a fuel pressure regulator just so he could use the transducer. I mean, it's incredible. It's all universal. Watching his video, that's when I decided whenever you're using all this different, like if you want to go from your manual gauge to a transducer, keep the same fittings, and they're all different. It's frustrating. And some of them, you know, they're just flat out cheap. All that I'm learning as we go. I appreciate all the comments, but what makes this really hard on YouTube's great because I'm not wasting time on Facebook. I hate these phones. I mean, they're eating kids' minds. They're doing that instead of, you know, all getting together and putting the motor in whatever, getting it cheap, putting the motor in it, you know, scooting around till that thing breaks. They ain't around. So we got to find other people like ourselves. But now if you want to show me something, or if you ask me a question on something, I just want to send a picture, that gets really hard because I remember old Photo Bucket. That's what you used to use. You had to send them to an external link. Now they made it a lot easier. On the H-Scope group, they use the Telegram. I was using Telegram before just as a messenger. It's a very secure message, like, you know, text message. You could share videos there, and I'm hoping we could share waveforms from the H-Scope, because that's a disadvantage between this and the Pico scope is you could get a known good, you could go on Scanner Danner's Premium on the forum, you could get a known good, you know, waveform, compare it with a Pico. It might look the same, but if we could share something from that'll actually load in our H-Scopes, no matter what scopes we're running the H-Scope software on, we could load another waveform into it with the waveform sharing library. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but Dennis at the Gadgets playlist, he has a video that I got to go back and watch again on how we could share them. But we could share the actual file on the Telegram group. If somebody wants to say, hey, you know, what's this? Just take a picture. We can't share it on YouTube, even though YouTube's a great platform. You know, it's how you find the people that, you know, are basically like us teaching local kids. We're teaching. Look at the audiences of some of them. That you'll see younger kids watching YouTube videos. They're even mostly older guys watching repair, so it's a shame. But there are some younger ones. This is how they're learning. You know, if they want to send in something, say, you know, hey, I took my car to AutoZone, I got this code, what do I do? If it's something I know you could do with a test light, you know, multimeter, if they want to spend $100 on a U-scope, how do they share that? I mean, if they have a YouTube channel that they could post it on, that's great. We'll go there, watch it. Because it's not about views. That's why I wanted to use Telegram. If you don't want to subscribe to the channel, that's not what it's about. Subscribe to the Telegram channel because there's nobody making nothing there. You know, there's just nobody else to teach no more. You know, and you like hanging out, you like doing this stuff, and I still like learning. And at this point, for working on these, I mean, this putting wheel bearings in the ball joint and this, you know, it basically needs everything. I don't have a cheap an Autel but bi-directional. It's like MP808. I got like a good version or Amazon version of just about everything, but was hard. I was going to actually save up and bite the bullet and get a Pico scope, or like on Darren on Mechanic Mindset. He shows you how to use that 2-channel Pico, which is pretty fairly cheap scope. You know, I didn't know which way to go. Then I seen the 8 scope, and I seen people like DJ Mobile. He was using that with the transducer that I wanted, so that was like I'm gonna watch his video and I'm gonna do it just like him. That's what I did on my Toyota, just to play around. I never thought that thing had a fried computer, but it was like, let me toy with you like a cat for a minute, experimenting with this nice new toy, and then in the end kick my ass. But yeah, we got it. But then again, caught intentional shutdown of an ECU on a U scope. It's the cheapest scope you could get, and it was good enough for that. So if you like falling around with Scanner Danner, Pine Hollow, everything like that, you know, that you can. And, you know, H scope gives you a lot of them features, especially to be able to record that long with a cheap scope. And has so many more features, you know. It didn't do too good with the Handtech, that 8-channel Handtech, but it was usable. You know, the HF's 512, I mean, I like it. It'll find anything that you could find on Scanner Danner until you need a 3-channel. And then, you know, the Handtech did 2 pulses and a coil over plug. That was 3-channel, and the waveform of the 3rd channel didn't look too good for like ignition, you know, analyzing, but it was a mark, it was a sync. So if I need 3 channels, I know I could do that. I'm not planning on needing 4, but you know, it's always there. So I invite you, join the Telegram group, because sometimes you got pictures like, you know, I did this. Have you ever seen this? I mean, I've rebuilt a lot of engines. I mean, Triton V10s. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, a very long time. I was ASE certified in like 3 different fields. I mean, brakes and suspension. That's from working in the muffler shop though. But you know, inspection lights, I've been doing this a very long time. I'm more familiar with the older stuff, and, you know, even 80s and OBD2. Now, I've done a lot of work with it, but with the oscilloscope, you know, most of that was with the U scope. So now I'm moving up to a good, reliable 2-channel. You know, hey, play around with it. But if we build anything, if you need help with anything, if I need help with anything, if something that we just can't share on YouTube, the Telegram group, you could share video, you could, I think live, I think everything. If it's like, have you ever heard this sound? You know, if you're members on, like, you know, Facebook of other groups, car groups, I have a Dodge, like a boogie van, that a caravan. They used to call me Van Man because I was the only one that worked on vans around here. I love vans. But I have a lot of people on there that you could invite to the group, to the Telegram group, to the channel, whatever. But what I encourage people to do, and tell them, if you got to have a code reader, and some of them might even go the extra route for, like, you know, $100 for a cheap scope. You know, I mean, whatever. You have to have some kind of information. Every time somebody asks for help on one of them groups, if you go down the list of comments, you could have taken that to a dealership and paid a flat rate mechanic for dealership parts, and you would have been ahead of the game fixing the right problem. I mean, they're ridiculous asking for help on Facebook. But if you could get a code and you could actually, you know, in real time or whatever, you know, recording, you could record a video and put it on the Telegram group. You know, this is the sound it's making. This is what happens when I measure this. Hey, you know, that's what it's for. And I can't see how to use YouTube 2 ways like that. And with the H group, Martin Lauren, they do have a Telegram group, and it works great for the same thing. But a lot of these guys aren't mechanics. There are some good ones on there, but they'll tell you how to use H scope. They use it for electronic repair. You know, totally different field. That's what the digital license on H scopes for. Yeah, not for us. Maybe it would be fun because that's where Paul Swift modulation's on. So I mean, hey, $15, I'll probably get it too for that scope. But hey, just share the knowledge, man. We all want to follow Paul Danner. We all want to, and I just can't bite that bullet because I've even made a lead collection that I don't need the leads parts of the Pico scope, you know. I'm going for a 4-channel automotive just for working on neighbors and ministry vehicles. And if you guys are professional mechanics, I'm sure you can do it with 8-scope, but you know, you might want to go with a snap on there. But yeah, this is for the hobbyist or the people just want to quit replacing wrong parts. All right, guys, it's on a Telegram group. It's at Back Alley Diag. I'm going to share the link in the comments. I'm not sure how to, because I just saw this literally like 10 minutes ago. So I hope you join, guys, because there's a lot of you talking to in the comments that are really cool. It's a more efficient way of talking. All right, adios.